Today is January 27th, 1995. I am Ellen Gooch. I am over at Loretta MacKinnon's house on 199 Moon Street. Loretta went with me when we talked to Miss Rhea, and she seemed to have a lot of interesting things to tell, and so she said that she would be glad to talk with us, and I'm very happy about that. You're a good scout. I really appreciate you going with me, Loretta. I enjoyed it. Well, it was kind of really fun. She was a wonderful woman, wasn't she, Loretta?
Oh, yes.
I wish we could have heard it a little bit better, but
I'm afraid that other people will not. You and I were there,
yes.
so we realized.
Right.
I'm afraid other people might not be able to get
Right.
part of her.
Yeah. Well, Loretta, perhaps we now start this little talk here, if you could tell us about growing up out in Factory Village when you were a little girl, and about your brothers and sisters and that kind of thing.
Well, yes. I started in factory school, and my first teacher was Florence Law. She later became very huge.
She wasn't married at that time.
No, but she was engaged to Homer, and he used to come after her. And we just worshipped her. She was so lovely. She had long hair, and big blue eyes, lovely teeth, and a nice complexion, and she wears a pretty blue dress a lot. And we just worshipped her.
I bet she was an awfully good teacher.
She was, and she was so interested in all of the pupils. And I remember my brother Joe, who was younger, 3-4 years than I. He had some little red boots. The older doesn't remember that. Jesus, and he got his little red rubber boots. And I remember saying, "Oh, but will you look at those little tiny red boots?" And she was interested in the children too, as individuals.
Yeah, right.
She was a good teacher.
Oh, I know she was.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, did all of your brothers and sisters, did you all go there together at factory school?
Well, because my half sister Nellie and Cecil were gone. They were older. They were my mother's first family.
They're your mother's first family.
Yes. And my sister Evelyn and Albert.
Evelyn and Albert.
And Joe and I Scott went to factory school.
Now, was it just that one teacher for all 8 grades?
Yes, it was just the one teacher.
And so when you were going to school, with Evelyn and Albert and yourself, did you all be in there together, or depended on that?
Evelyn and Albert had gone.
They were about done by the time you got started.
Yes, they were. They were in high school.
Right.
And she would start in the morning, and I went through the pledge of allegiance to the flag, And I don't recall.
They let you do that back then.
Yes. I don't recall whether we prayed or not. But anyway, she would start, I think, with the first grade,
Yes.
Yes. And then go up to the other classes. And really, it must have been quite a pass.
Well, it's fun today, to keep all of you going.
Yeah.
All the grades, and make sure they've got work to do.
Right.
Now, this schoolhouse, where was that located?
Well, it just came down within the last few years.
Yes.
It was located between the Loomis house and the Howard house that's on the hill. It was right in the center of Factory Village.
Well, can you tell me of anybody that would be living near there today? So we could
Mrs. Bennett lives in the Loomis house.
Well, I don't really think I know which house that is.
Cleo Bennett lives in her name is Cleo Bennett. She lives in the Loomis house. And
so that hasn't been doing some good yet.
no, not that would be well, the other side, you know. There was the gray place was being in Sunny View.
Yes, right.
And then there was the next one was the Scott place. And then there was a little building in between, and then the Loomis place. And then Factory School.
Okay. I think I've got it. It's on the same side of the road with all those buildings.
Right.
Yes. And where did you live?
Oh, well, I lived just beyond there.
Yes.
Where the old dump is.
Across the road from where the entrance to the old dump?
It's sort of on a knoll of trees around it.
Right. Who lives there now, Loretta?
I haven't the faintest idea. There's been several people live there, several different families live there since.
Would that be where Bobby Grant lives? I wonder. Is that house that sits up on that little hill? At the little knoll? Is that the house? And I can't think, is it painted or is it stained?
Well, let's see.
I don't buy it all the time.
I didn't do like that. I can't really, they've renovated it for many times.
Right. Wasn't there a bad fire out there a few years back? Nope, and that's not the building I'm thinking of. But it wasn't too far from the school.
No.
And you would just walk down the road.
Yes.
Just walk right along.
Oh, yes. We would all, yes.
And now this schoolhouse, I have a feeling it had a wood stove.
It certainly did. And it was a big, long, chunk wooden stove. And they decided to throw the heat around the back of the room. They put some kind of a zinc partition around it, which was supposed to make the heat rise and go to the back of the room.
I see. Did it work?
Yes, I think so. I don't recall being, that cold, but if it was real, real cold, the teacher would always say they were movable desks. She would always say, well, move around the stove.
Yes, it was really cold day. Yes.
So everyone would make a circle around the stove.
Will you take the lunch?
Yes.
Your lunch break?
Yes.
And would you go regular hours, like 8 or 4?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, how many kids would be in the school?
And with that,
A bunch of them probably.
oh, certainly, yes. Probably 15 or 20.
Is that right? Yeah. And some in third.
All the grades.
Yeah.
They'd be different.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I bet they was wonderful, wonderful teacher to you.
Oh, she was.
And for how long did you go there?
Well, we went there for 8 grades.
So all 8 grades.
And then we went to high school.
Yeah. So is that what you did?
Well, I skipped some grades for the only reason that, I was always listening to other grades. What's the use of that? Sometimes I did 2 grades in one.
No, you could do that back then.
Yeah.
If you got double at one, you could listen to the next kid.
Yeah.
And so, and try to pass 2 along.
So, yes.
Yeah. And so, did you do all 8 days there?
Yes.
And did they do all of them?
No, we had several. I think as I remember that she married. And I don't think she taught for a few years.
Right.
And we had several teachers, all of them great. We had Doc Heifel.
Yes. And she's now Doc Hovia.
She didn't last long. She was well. And I don't think she completed the term.
No.
And we had a Mrs. Dewey, Edith Dewey.
H-U-E-Y.
H-E-W-E-Y.
H-E-W.
And we had a young teacher that was named Miss Fish.
So then I believe you told me that your mother died and you moved away. How was that?
Well, she died when I was 6 years old.
Just died in school.
Just died in school. But my grandmother came to live with us
Would that be her mother or your father's?
My father's.
Your father's mother.
And she stayed with us quite a few years until she got so elderly that she really couldn't do the work. She couldn't do it. And when I was 12 or 13, we moved to New Jersey because a lot of my father's people were there, and they thought it was too much for my father to try to keep. But by that time, there was just the three. Myself, Joe, and Scott. Just the three of us. Yeah. And they thought it was too much for them, and it was. Of course it was. And we really couldn't work that well. They care about. So we moved to New Jersey.
Yes.
I went 1 year to high school.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
The academy.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll be down.
And I was to New Jersey. Of course, that was so different. It was a huge school, but we moved to New Brunswick. And
you lived in New Brunswick, New Jersey?
Yes. To me, it was really legendary. And when I went to go to school, I went by myself. Nobody volunteered to go with me or anything. And I was laughed because I was doing well. My report card, it was, I think there was one subject. I had no physical training, but it was required. Oh, yes. I had, I think it was called domestic arts. And they said, what on earth is that? I said, oh, it's so important. Well, they said, we don't have anything like that. No.
They were the losers. I think that was a good thing to learn how to do.
So, yes. So, really, I had to take a few extra subjects to catch up. But that's,
you did?
Not yet.
Yeah.
With the window of the second year.
Yes. And Scott, did Scott go there too? Or did you go down to New Jersey?
Yeah.
And I went to school there, and Joe went to school. We all three of you went to school there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then Scott, did Scott graduate from Corbett Academy?
Yes. You see, the Depression came, and my father, he was just a laborer, but he worked at the agricultural college there, and they thought he was wonderful because he knew how to plow.
Down in New Jersey.
Yeah. He knew how to plow, and he knew how to do things.
I see.
They didn't know. But the Depression came, and they had to cut down.
Sure.
So he was one of the first to let go. Well, he had no job. He had us children. And
did you live with relatives there?
we lived in my aunt and uncle.
Yeah. And your father lived, you all lived there?
Yeah.
I see.
We had a large apartment. And so, by that time, I was older. And then we came back to Colbert.
You gotten out of high school?
I had graduated from high school.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Joe, he must have gotten out. Was Joe out?
No.
Maybe
No, he went to this academy, but he didn't complete the 4 years. And
no. So it, but you were all set and done.
Yes.
And in fact, were you out in time so you went to work down there in New Jersey?
Well, yes, I was. Yes, I went up to my aunt. I had another aunt in Newton, Mass, and she ran a beauty shop. So she said that if I would come up there, she would train me, but I still had to go, and have lessons. And so I was doing that, and I hadn't passed my state exams because I came home with my father. He really needed someone. He needed me. I was the oldest. And
you were older than Joe.
Oh, yeah.
You were older than Joe.
I was 4 years older.
Yeah. Yeah. So you stayed with your aunt for a bit.
Yeah.
And then you came back home with him
And Joe and Scott.
Mm-hmm. And did you go back to where you did live, or had you sold that? Or?
No, we went back there.
Did you still, that was still there? Well, you to go back there.
Because that's the reason I thought that it was, that we should come back, was because Dad had that little place. Yeah. And I said, at least. And I never knew anyone who told us guys to death.
No,
I said, they always would find work. So I said, if we go home and live in that little place, I'm sure that you can find work. And he did. And he did on the town road.
He went for the road, yeah.
Well, you see, my Uncle Fred Silver was no agent, and of course, Yeah, family helped family.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we put it as well. And so we got along.
Well, it seems to me, how did you feel about coming back to
Horrible.
We did not want to come back. We liked it down there in Newton.
I liked it down in New Jersey. I had figured that when I got my training, I would go back.
That's
I
right.
liked New Jersey then.
You liked it very much.
Yes, and I had so many friends there, by that time.
And so you really kind of pleaded to come back to the country.
I thought, I'll come home, and I'll get my father situated.
I will go back.
I'll see if he can't find a housekeeper. And I will go back.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I guess I never did.
But no, you didn't. No. Well, so when you came back, did you go to work around the area? Were you able to find a job?
No, I didn't. Several people, I didn't really have any training.
No.
High school and there wasn't the opportunities then. And several people asked me to work for them, and I would say, well, I'll come and help you out for a couple of weeks, but I don't want to help you all the time. And, oh, heavens, yes, and Hazel McNeely, our next door neighbor, when she had her last baby, I went and helped her all summer.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I got $5 a week.
That's pretty good there. Not too bad. Because those are terrible days, those depression days.
Oh. Yeah.
But then, like you say, nobody goes hungry in Tulsa.
No.
Yeah, but
my father made $12 a week.
Yeah. That's something. That really is.
And I was working on the farm.
Right.
Imagine.
Yeah. And, we got to go for the town of Colebrook.
Well, no, not the precinct as we know it.
No.
It was the fact at that time I think it was divided. That was East Colebrook. He used to cover East Colebrook.
He covered East Colebrook, yes. Yes.
And they had the old-fashioned grader.
Yes.
And pulled by horses.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. And the small roller, did you hear so much about it or not?
I don't. No, not then.
Not
then. I don't. When I was there, before we moved to New Jersey, I remember the snow rollers.
When you were a little kid.
When I lived here, but no, I don't.
They probably gotten all over that.
I think so.
They probably cows.
Yeah.
Well, you were a very nice daughter to come back home with your father, I think.
Well, I figured that I owed him because he kept us together.
It was hard.
It was hard. And, a lot of men wouldn't have done that.
No, they wouldn't have.
Because my aunts, they didn't have children, and their children were grown up, and they would love to have it. No.
So to keep you together.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Isn't it wonderful? Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it is.
It is to me, too.
And I think back then, it was harder for men to take care of kids. I mean, men today seem to, men help with the babies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But back then, I don't think that was women's work.
Yeah. But my father was like that.
No, which I think was very progressive. It really was.
Like that. He always helped with it.
Yeah. Well, so actually, you'd have to say you really liked that one-room schoolhouse better than the big school down in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
By that time, I was used to Colebrook Academy, and that was small compared. Well, it's quite a change.
It's a big change.
And they got such a kick out of my accent.
Oh, they love to do that to us, don't they?
They couldn't hardly understand me.
So you came on back, and you had every hope of going back eventually to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Must be something happened that made you change your mind.
Well, my father didn't get any better, and he got sick. And he really, he was a very indecisive man.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't make up his own mind. And he got sick, and I remember that winter, he really couldn't do anything. And it was quite hard. I went to work for a couple of weeks before Christmas for Doris Corbett. She had a chance to substitute teach, and she asked me if I would come up. I didn't think anything of it. I went up there and stayed, took care of the kids, and kept the house, and got the meals. Didn't think anything of it. And I think I worked there for 2 weeks.
You worked there 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would do that.
Yeah.
Just to bring in enough money so that we had enough to eat.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me must be Leo kind of came along.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I think it was about a year after we moved here.
After you came back from the
that I met Leo.
And you met him. Had you known him?
No, that's the funny part of it. My sister Evelyn was great friends with his sister, and I remember going to that house. She took me under protest first because I was just a little brat.
Sure.
And I remember that. I don't remember him. I remember his brother, Rod, who was my age. But I don't remember Leo.
Now, Leo would have been older than yourself.
Well, 4 years and a half.
Yeah, and Rod would have been near your age.
Yes, Rod and I were about that.
Yeah, you remember him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you never met him, really, until you came back from New Jersey.
No.
But you remember about?
No.
Okay,
because I mean, we knew. I knew his family, and I knew his sisters and my dad, but no, I didn't remember him at all. And I thought we did him. I said, well, you are very spectacular.
Everybody laughed at that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to just put this in you're just doing just great. So you did, you and Leo finally met.
Yes, I met him at a dance.
At a dance. Out there in Happy Village.
No. That was I was more sophisticated.
Those days ago.
And not the Blue Building, but that was before my day.
Yes.
It was the Young Bird in Beecher Falls. And I went to the dance with Stratton Kelly, who was my neighbor, who I grew up with. And I danced with her, you did. Yes. And the more I danced with him at different dances, the better I liked him.
Yes.
We would talk about everything under the sun, and so finally he said, well, why don't we get together? And I said, well, that's a good idea.
Well, now, where would he live out there?
Well, at that time, they moved across the river over in South Carolina.
So there's that one in South Carolina?
Oh, yes, they had bought place over there. They had sold places on the hatchery, and they lived over there.
Did they farm?
Yes,
they farm. And do you know who lives there now?
The house is at our end. Yeah. And I had no idea. They built a house. But no, I have no idea. No.
So when you and Leo discovered each other, he was living up on South Carolina, and you were living in Factory Village?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
So that was a distance.
And he worked, he worked around different places. He worked, I can't remember. So he was working for his Uncle Everett, his wife, or not. Everett was his uncle. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
His mother was his sister to Everett Wiswell. So it seems to me that he worked for, I don't really know this part of it, but I think he worked for Kelsey Knapp on the farm, probably in between the woods jobs or something.
Yes.
And he became quite the young man around town. He joined the Grange, I think, Rochester. She met him.
And then they met, and then they married. And then, did they have just Leo and Rod?
Oh, no.
They had a big family.
Yeah. They had Mary and Lucy and Roderick and Leo and one little later child that died.
Yes. And so they lived, where did they live?
Well, then, for years, they lived just above the hatchery where Dr. Katz lives now.
Where Dr. Katz
Yes.
And they lived there, and actually, you'd say Leo kind of grew up there?
Yes.
You'd say that?
Yes.
And he went to the country school in Factory Village?
No, he went to the village school.
They brought him in.
School.
Mm-hmm. They brought him right in, or he walked?
Well, no, that was what I was talking with Ethel Greer. He rode with my sister Nellie.
Yeah,
she was in high school, and or vice versa. And his sisters rode with Ethel.
Yes, I see. Our little neighborhood transportation.
Yes.
And so he came in town to go to grammar school.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm catching it. And I didn't realize he had so many relatives as he had. So he grew up in Dr. Katz's house.
Yes.
Oh, and then, but when you met him, he wasn't in Dr. Katz's house. But then when you and Leo got married, then where did you people live?
When we got married, we lived at my father's. My father.
At your father's house? Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived there. My father was alive.
Yes.
And the year we were married, of course, Theo had the promise of a job at the hatchery, or he was looking for a job at the, state hatchery. And so he went to work part-time. I think he went to work in March that year.
At the hatchery? Mm-hmm. He had wanted to do that.
Oh, yes.
He always wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. Well, the fish hatchery, I think it's interesting to me. I read in Dr. Gifford's book that we really got started in fish hatcheries in the state of New Hampshire so early. That he said that, 1880, that we were into the practice of hatcheries and finally bought the property in 1896. I think that's amazing. I had no idea we're so foresighted to get into this.
Well, I wonder if John Finley had quite a lot to do with that. Was he a representative, a state representative?
He seemed to be into a lot of different things.
Or a commissioner, fish and game commissioner, I don't know which, but he was into that. And I think that perhaps he had
a lot to do with it.
Right?
Yes. So, the state of New Hampshire, did they build that building where the fish hatchery is?
I don't know. Or
did they buy it?
First it was there. Part of some of the buildings were there. I remember Leo telling me that Ed Piper ran the hatchery. And I think perhaps it was quite a cool affair then.
Just getting going.
Rights on the ground and like that.
Right.
I would assume. Yeah, I don't know. And then Fred Richards came down below, I believe Manchester or someplace, and he ran that hatchery at the time that Leo was growing up and living next door. And
Leo, is that how he got interested in it?
I think so. His father had worked there at the hatchery for Ed Piper.
And so he kind of grew up.
He grew up knowing about it and being there a lot.
Hanging around as a kid and getting interested.
And he's very interested in all of that. Yeah. And Fred Richards ran that when I first knew Leo. And then he died.
Mm-hmm.
And Don Ingram, who was married to Leo's sister Lucy.
Leo's sister Lucy. Right.
And
so he became the superintendent. Right. Mm-hmm.
And then Wayne Holden.
So did Leo work for his uncle there at that time?
That would be his brother-in-law.
His brother-in-law, yes, exactly.
No, he didn't, not then. Wayne Holden started working there, or had worked there for a year or so, and he became ill with pneumonia, and they needed someone. So Leo's brother-in-law, Don, said, well, if you were married, I could hire you.
He had to be married?
Yeah, well, that's what Don said.
Yeah, but there weren't crazy rules in these government jobs, too.
I suppose then jobs were scarce. Maybe you were supposed to give a married man.
Yeah, and they had the house there to go.
Well, yeah, Donald lived in the house.
I see.
And, I guess that's somehow the way we were supposed to be. He said, if I could find a girl that marry me, I could have that job. And I said, well, here I am, I'm kidding.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is
I am.
Yeah. So that was how it.
Well,
So that was it. He got you, and he got the job.
Did he go to the job when he was?
Oh, I doubt that. It was a good excuse, I think. That's great.
I was up at half kid, and I said, well, here I am.
Here I am.
I'm single. No, we just laughed at it. We knew it.
Yeah. So that came to be.
So he went to work part-time, yes.
And you were still living with your father.
Yes. And he came, I said, I can't leave my father just now. So he came. I think we lived there 10 years with my father.
You did?
Yes. And the boys was grown up, married and gone. And then my father died. And the year my father died, Leo got a notice that Don was going to be transferred to Laconia. And your father, Mr. Currier,
George Currier,
Leo loved. I mean, he thought he was a wonderful man.
Well, see, you have no disagreement with me on that.
Yeah, and he got along great with him.
Yes.
He came out to the hatchery and he said to Leo, you've worked hard, and I know you've worked hard here. And he said, you've been very steady for years. And there was some project that he wanted him to do. He said, if you can get a dam or something built, or see that it's built, to do. And it was strange because my father died of a heart attack right then. Leo came home. About that time, I don't recall which was which. And he said, I was talking to George Currier this morning. And his eyes were like, sparkling. And he said, he told me that I could have my choice. I could either become a game warden, or I could become the superintendent of this hatchery. And he said, I don't know what to do. Well, I said, it's you. It's your decision. Yeah. You are the one.
Yeah.
And I said, you'll just have to make up your own mind. So we talked, And I guess the next day, Leo said, I don't think I'd like being a warden. He says, I don't like arresting people. Yeah. And I don't like having to be a bad.
Yes, no, you have to. You're a fish cop, is what you are. They always say.
He said, I don't like that. Well, I said, take the other job. And so he did.
And that's how he happened.
And your father was the one that was instrumental.
Well, this is all news to me.
Him the job.
It sounds like, I think he chose a good man, and he must have thought so. He went for him. I wonder where that dam was. I guess one thing I was wondering about the hatchery. Did the Colbert Fish Hatchery was Pittsburgh area? Do you know how big an area the fish hatchery?
That they stock the fish?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yes. They stock the lakes up there.
And then how far down would they go? How far down would they have to go? I wonder.
Down south.
Yeah.
Well, not very far, I don't think.
Not too far?
No, I don't think so.
Because I know there is a hatchery. I'm trying to think.
In Twin Mountain.
Yes.
Twin Mountain, yeah.
Probably that.
And they went back and forth. Twin Mountain would bring fish up here if they had,
Right.
A surplus, or if they had so many allotted for this section. And I think that Leo might have gone as far as Twin Mountain sometimes.
Yes, but that would be kind of the boundary as far. But they work together.
They work together.
Yes. And if memory serves me right, the Colbert Fish Hatchery, wasn't it known for, was it Rainbow?
Yes.
That we could raise so successfully here. And other place, it must have been the water?
It was the water.
It was the water.
There was calcium, a lot of calcium in the water. Yeah.
And so would they raise fish, those rainbow particularly, and let other hatcheries further down in the state have them too?
They used to strip them for eggs, and the eggs.
Yeah. And they would let them have the eggs, and then they would.
Yes, or some of the eggs they kept and raised into small fish.
And they would let the other hatcheries for the rainbow particularly. Loretta, did they also? I always think of rainbow out there, but did you raise a lot of other kinds?
Brook trout.
Brook trout.
I think they tried brown trout too, but I don't recall very successful.
Yes.
That they ever made much of that. But yeah.
Right.
Rainbow and Brook rookies.
Mostly, yeah. Now, the Balsams, did someone say that they had a hatchery too out there?
Well, by that time, that was gone.
That would have been early on that they raised fish.
And I think John Finley I think that was the one that perhaps he had quite a lot of influence with. And Jim Maudsley ran that. But I don't think it was ever very much of a success.
Yeah. Did you get the feeling that they worked with the Colebrook Fish Hatchery, or were they kind of independent?
I don't really. It was all state, state control.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know because that was before I knew anything.
Right. Well, we must have had Leo must have had Arrow. Must have had Arrow too.
Yes.
And I don't.
Oh yes, all of those little ponds and places out
through there.
They had. Oh yes.
Yes, yeah. I see. Well, so Leo was really happy to become the superintendent.
Yes, he was.
And he always enjoyed that.
Oh yes.
He loved that work.
Yes, and very interested in it. Very.
There was a lot to it.
Oh yes.
I got a tour out there once.
Yes.
And
People, they thought all you did was.
Yeah.
But they had diseases, you had to mix chemicals, you had to know. And yes, I wished I'd kept more of his books, but of course we left them out there for somebody else.
Yes, right.
But they had different chemicals that they used for different diseases. They had what we call the fish doctor, a man, I suppose he was a glorified biologist.
Yes.
And he would come and...
Would he come up from Concord? Or?
Yes.
Concord, more or less.
And he would analyze what disease they had,
Well, I suppose if a disease got going there, it would break the dickens.
Oh, it a lot of places, it would wipe out the
whole of it.
Or the whole, maybe the brood fish, or maybe a whole pond, or a whole pool, or, yeah.
Well, these people that, say up in Pittsburgh that ran the sporting camps, would they keep calling Leo to see if they could get some more fish put in or stocking?
Not too often, because it had to go through the conservation offices.
So, would it be like the conservation officer would come out and ask Leo? He'd say, "Well, we need some of it."
But Leo had to be authorized. He couldn't just say, "You can have it."
No.
He had to be authorized. And I don't recall, it probably came through Concord.
Probably.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah. Yes. They had to be. But, excuse me, I think the conservation office has got a lot of rhubarb about, you didn't put enough fish.
They got it more than Leo.
Yes.
Because a lot of the sports used to feel, well, so-and-so is getting more fish
than I am.
Yes.
Yes.
But they've got it. And Leo would just hear about it and go on his way.
Or they would come, the conservation officer would come and say, "Well, you think that you could give me $10,000 to satisfy so-and-so?" And Leo would say, "Well, if you get the authority, I can do it."
Yes.
But I can't just go.
No. So he always had to go through the channels.
Yes.
Just like...
He had to have an allotment,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, how did they used to stock these lakes and things? Did they take a truck?
Yes, they had trucks. They had trucks with motors on and tanks.
Right.
And the motors aerated the water.
Yes. Mm-hmm. To keep the fish going till they got to the destination.
And a conservation officer was supposed to meet the truck. Leo had, young Wayne Holden drove one truck.
Yes.
And Lawrence Bean drove one sometimes.
Yes.
And they were supposed to meet the truck and sign the fish and
yes,
help them out, I suppose.
Right, right. Well, in later days, didn't they used to fly?
Yes, they did.
Fly into these distant ponds and drop them?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that that was, to me, very interesting. Before that, didn't they used to have to walk to these?
Yes, with a pack on the back.
Right, that was hard work.
Oh, Leo did that a lot.
Walk in?
Oh, yes, they walk into these ponds. They all have these big, these fish tanks, we call them. They strap to their back, and they carry so many of these fish in that
And they had to have a lot. Didn't they have to, like you were saying, the trucks had to have oxygen
Yes.
for the fish? Well, these when they carry these on their back, did they also, or did they just have to go fast?
Well, no, they didn't have anything else. No,
Just hope for the best.
Yeah. They'd go as far as they could go with the trucks, on a road or along the road and then they would pack that way.
Yeah, right.
And I remember when we were first married, they used to get a lot of their fish from York Pond.
Who is that?
That is a hatchery which I told you that Warren, England runs now.
Right.
Down near Berlin. That was a federal.
That was federal.
And, oh my gosh, the equipment they had, I remember Leo would be so cold, those old trucks. The heater wouldn't work half the time. He'd have a lantern, and he'd put next to his feet to keep his feet warm. When we were first married.
No,
but that was before he became superintendent.
No, but it was working.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, and the old trucks there.
Bad. But the federal place over in York, they had good equipment. Better.
Oh yes, much better.
Much better than we had.
Than the state.
State fish.
Yeah.
Did they work together quite well?
Yes, they did.
But that might have had something to do with the people that were running the places.
Yeah.
Maybe Leo got along with them.
Oh, he did. He got along very well. I can't remember. I can't remember who was the first superintendent down there, but later years, Dan MacKinnon was the superintendent. You know Dan. He lives on Fish Hatchery Road.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. And he was there.
And he was the superintendent.
And he is the years. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Well, when that was, when do you think that they went in there to,
in the York Pond?
Yes.
Going to hatchery?
Yeah. Was that after you got married?
Oh, no. That hatchery's been going for years.
Over there in York?
Yes.
Pond?
Oh, yes.
Oh, in federal?
Yes. Now it's a state hatchery, you see. The federal government didn't want it, and they gave it over to the state. So it's a state-run hatchery now.
I see. Mm-hmm. But they were there before we had anything here in Colbert.
I almost presume so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. No, I didn't know that.
It's too bad, because Leo, he remembered all of this,
Well,
I really wasn't into it that much, because
you were busy doing your own thing.
My own thing,
yeah.
But he would remember who was the superintendent at the time.
And how it went, yeah.
And how it went. I remember the man coming to the house. He was a nice man. And he was the superintendent down there.
He was, yeah.
I think he was a French or Berlin originally. Yeah.
Well, did people ever come and bother you? I know you had I don't suppose you always had those ponds. I call them ponds. Mm-hmm. I don't know that is probably what you call them. I don't know.
Well, we had the big pond, and then we had the big pools.
Would people sneak in there at night?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
You never had any rats.
No. And like you'd be there in the house, and all of a sudden you could hear.
Oh, yeah.
And would Leo have to go running down, chase him away?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know.
Not always got him. In woods behind the hat.
No, I bet he didn't catch
Not always.
No. Probably, but he got rid of them.
Yeah.
They went.
Yeah.
I remember, well, of course, it was actually, was that after the hatchery closed? And didn't somebody come and let the pond out or something? What was that?
Yes. Was that when Mr. Edmund Rulo was there?
I think so.
I think so.
And they let it all out.
Yeah, and the fish went right down to the Mohawk.
Yes, good fishing in the Mohawk for 2 days.
That's what he said anyway. That's what he said.
Well, I mean, who's to know?
That was at that time. It was a private concern.
Yes. Well, did the fish hatchery close when Leo was still superintendent, or had he stopped?
No, he retired.
He had retired.
He wasn't. He had that arthritis, and he really wasn't well.
Yes.
And he retired. He kept acting until he did. Didn't want to.
No, I love that, but he was arthritic. Oh, nothing worse than that cold water.
And he just could not do it. So he retired, and Lawrence Bean took it over.
Yes.
For a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
And
I think it closed then.
I noticed that it said, Dr. Gifford's book, that the fish hatchery in Colbert was discontinued in 1976. And it said that Leo started work for the hatchery in 1949, so he worked there a good long while.
Well, yes, he had 43 years.
Out at the hatchery?
At the hatchery, yes. In fact, he was superintendent for 30 years.
He was superintendent for 30
years.
That is certainly, that's quite a record.
It is.
It really is.
It is. But he was so singular in his ambition, too. There was never any question of going anywhere else. That was it.
No, he was perfectly happy.
Right.
You know, that is a wonderful thing if a person can find a life's work.
Right.
That they find so much happiness in, and they just
right.
They're the lucky ones, you know,
yes.
that really do.
Yes.
So then he retired, and Lawrence Bean ran it, and then it stopped in 1976. And then, memory serves me right, the house and the whole shebang was put up for sale.
Right.
And I remember they had an ad in the paper. You could bid on it.
Yes.
Well, then after he retired, you left the fish hatchery house.
Oh yes. Oh yes. We had bought this house the year before he retired.
And so you had moved down here to downtown Coburg. And so you have been in this house. How long have you been here?
We have been here, I think it'll be 17 years in September. You know, don't seem possible, does it?
I cannot believe that. No, that's incredible.
No.
Well, it was hard for Leo to give up.
Oh, terribly hard for him. He fought against it. We were all against him, because we knew that he had to. And he fought against it. Oh, he just did not want to give it up. And we told him, just no choice. You're not going to live if you
right. Well, how would he feel when the state closed the hatchery? Did he ever say, did he feel badly?
Oh, yes.
It was a tough time.
Yes.
Why did they do that? Was that an economy measure?
Yes, it was. They had decided that it cost too much to run the small hatcheries in the state.
Right.
And that they would be better off. Their aim at that time was to have 2 or 3 large hatcheries or fish places and give up all the small ones.
Right. And
that is what they've done.
That's what they've done.
Yes.
Yeah. Did Leo ever say anything about the fishing in New Hampshire? Did he feel that it did? New Hampshire was certainly known for wonderful fishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did he feel that it did decline through the years, or did he ever? Maybe he didn't.
No, I don't.
He didn't remark upon that.
No, I don't. I don't remember that he did.
No. I wondered. It seems to me, of course, that I think New Hampshire's always had good enforcement of its laws, so you couldn't keep too many fish, which I think helped. I don't say now that they aren't stocking as much, but I don't know.
The quality of the lakes and the ponds hasn't improved. Acid rain.
Did Leo get going on that?
Yes.
Acid rain?
Yes. And he felt that the natural trout or the natural fish did not reproduce.
Because of that.
No, that was one of the factors.
Yes. Right. And, you're all the time hearing about that.
Oh, yes.
And Leo, he would be a professional, and he felt that.
And then, of course, they did use, for a few years, they used DDT.
Well, I know nobody likes to talk about it, but it's true. I guess.
Not that they did at the hatchery.
No.
But, they did. And Leo felt that it got into the water, it got into the birds.
Yeah. And I think he was absolutely right.
And he felt that it was detrimental to the fish. It certainly was.
It certainly
and to their reproduction, their eggs,
and
everything.
It affected it all.
Affected the whole evolution, really.
Right. Right. Where do the fish come from now that they stock?
I think most of them come from York Pond.
They are still coming from York Pond.
I see, yes. The truck goes by here.
Yeah. Right.
Inky has, I should say, we always call him Inky. He has a big turnover of fish in there. And he does very well. Very well.
This might be a good time to. We haven't mentioned your family at all, your boys, and Inky. Now, Inky would have been your nephew.
Yeah, he was Leo's sister's, Lucy's boy.
Lucy's boy. And he grew up with you people?
Not really. His father died, and within a couple of years, his mother died.
He lost both parents.
Yes, they lived in. Don was retired
from the hatchery.
And he lost both parents. He had one brother, but he was in the Navy.
Right.
And so that left Inky Warren with nobody to look after.
Right.
And he was 15, I think. So we decided that Leo was really the only relative, the closest, And we asked him if he wanted to come live with us, and he said yes, he did. So he came to live with us.
Wonderful.
And he went to high school there.
And he graduated from Global Academy.
And then he went into the Army, and he was stationed in Ethiopia. And he did his stint in the Army. Then he married. He married Doc Poirier's daughter, Michelle.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Locust. They're divorced, but I mean,
he married a local girl.
And then he went to work for Leo.
Out here at our hatchery.
At this hatchery, yeah. He liked the hatchery, too. In fact, our two boys didn't care a darn about it.
Your boys not interested?
No, not interested at all. But Inky was.
Right.
And Leo got him on, and Leo really trained him. He told him a lot of his secrets.
Right.
Yeah. So, because Leo was cagey that way.
He knew.
Yeah. He had good advisors, He got in just in time when he had a lot of the old school hatchery men, and they liked Leo, and he liked them.
And they worked together.
And they worked together.
And they taught him.
And they taught Leo so much. And if Leo had trouble, they would come. They would get in the cars and come up and help him. Oh, yes.
Well, they liked him, didn't they? Yes, they did. Yeah.
And so Leo passed a lot of that on to Warren.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Inky Warren Inky, he went over to York. From the York Pond?
Yes.
Or maybe not directly.
After the hatchery closed here.
He was out here.
He was out here. He worked with Lawrence after Leo retired.
Yes.
And Lawrence was going to take over the York Pond. But really, Lawrence wasn't very well either.
No, his health had started to
deteriorate. And Lawrence got to thinking about it, and he thought, I think Lawrence thought it was just too much of his that space to gain. And so he didn't go.
And of course, Lawrence's wife was sick then too.
She had died.
She had gone.
Yes, Elsie.
When they all happened.
She was a great helpmeet to him.
This is the end of Tape 1 interview with Loretta MacKinnon.
Well, I guess perhaps we're back in business. So anyhow, we were saying that Warren went over to York eventually to try it.
He was acting like he intended.
Yeah. Right. And so then he eventually took it over.
Yes.
And he's still there.
Yes.
And he's mean man.
Yes.
Yeah. Leo taught him well, didn't he?
Very well.
Very well.
Yeah.
Well, how about your boys?
What would you like?
I'd like to know, now, were you living up there with your father when you had the boys? Or had you?
Yes. Leo Jr. had just started grade school. He started, by that time there was no factory school at the village school. He started at grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald was 2 when we moved to the hatchery.
He was 2.
2 years old.
I see. Mm-hmm. So actually, they spent a lot of time growing up in the hatchery house,
and they
liked it.
They loved the hatchery.
Yeah.
And everything about it.
Everything about it.
But they had no desire to work there.
No. Well, did they like to fish?
No.
Didn't care a hoot about it.
Ronald has later. He loves to now.
He loves to now, but as a kid.
No,
he didn't care about it. No, not at all. No. Well, there you go. That's the way it is, though. So often, kids don't get interested in what their parents are into. Until later.
Yes, and of course, Leo was a great hunter, And
your Leo was a big hunter.
Yeah. He was a good hunter.
And loved it.
Yeah. And they used to go, the state men would come and they would go hunting for maybe 3-4 days out to one of the camps, and stay, and they'd have a great time. But the boys didn't seem that interested in that either.
No. Well, did you almost always have, did Leo almost always get his deer?
Yes.
Almost invariably get a deer.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Because I love venison.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. But, and he loved to hunt, and so you had,
But the boys didn't seem to care too much about that. Ronald has since become quite good fisherman, and he loves to fish. But I think it's more for the relaxation and to getting out in the woods. He loves the woods.
He likes the woods, birds, and all that. Yeah. Well, now, did y'all, Leo, did he hunt more or less out around the Diamond area?
Yes, a lot.
A lot.
Mm-hmm. But he hunted around home. He knew all the woods.
Yes,
around.
But he would stay right in the area. He didn't go off up to Pittsburgh or
no.
He'd stay pretty much in that area, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me that he must have been happy in his work. Did he like to fish?
No.
He didn't like to fish.
No part of it.
No. Did he like to eat fish?
No.
No. That's what they always say. Didn't eat fish. No.
As he used to say, if you could look down to that hatchery and smell those fish and work to those fish, that was enough. Yeah. You didn't want any other part of it.
Well, how about you? Do you like fish?
Yes, I do, and I like to fish.
You like to
Leo
fish?
used to take me fishing a lot because he knew I liked to. We used to go to mud farms and those places.
You did?
Oh, yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
I love to fish.
Yeah.
Oh, I love to fish. I always have ever since I was that high. But I do know my father loved to fish. He didn't like to eat fish.
No.
No.
He didn't,
No.
But he liked to catch them.
He loved to catch them, but he did not eat them. Unless, if they would have some people in and he would have had a good catch, he would eat one then because, he thought he should.
You should.
But he really didn't care for fish to eat. No.
Oh, I loved them. I loved the trout. We never ate. People used to say, well, you must have a lot of nice trout. We never ate any of those hatchery fish.
You didn't? No.
Oh, they were.
No.
They were soggy. They tasted of liver.
No. Yeah, right.
They really.
Right, I do know. Yeah.
And they had to be in the natural streams
for a while
before they got good.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, so we were talking about Leo and Ronnie, and that they didn't care to fish until later. No. Ronnie did, and I know that they certainly are very good to you, Loretta. I see them here. They're wonderful to you,
yes,
I think. They come and you have all this family that comes. You're very lucky that way, I think.
Yes, I think I am.
I know you are.
Yes.
Well, when we were with Miss Greer the other day, we got talking about Scott C. Carby. And I know that you had told me that you sat for him.
Yes.
And that he sketched you. Could you tell me a little bit about that, Lorette?
Well,
first of all, how old were you? You couldn't have been a very old little girl.
No, because I was only 12 or 13 when we moved to New Jersey, so I probably was maybe 10.
Just a kid?
Yes, very young, yeah. And sometimes my brother would go with me. But
now, which brother would that be?
That would be Lyle, Joe.
Joe.
We called Joe. Yeah.
Oh, his real name was Lyle.
Yeah, Lyle. And we would sometimes he would walk. We walked away from our place up there.
That was a few miles, wasn't it?
Well, it was quite a ways. I'd say probably a good mile and a half, 2 miles. And
uphill.
Uphill. We would pose
hill.
Doctor for Mr. Carby, and he we would pose outdoors mostly.
Outdoors.
Like Lillian DeLon and I would be having tea, maybe, and he'd paint us having tea. A couple of kids having tea, a tea party, like that.
Right.
Yeah. And that was one of them. And
was Lillian a sister to Teresa? Was that what?
No, she was a cousin, I believe.
A cousin.
Mm-hmm. And she used to pose for him.
Lillian
Lillian
did. And you and Lillian sometimes
both together.
Together he'd sketch you guys. Yeah.
And he'd always visit with us while he was sketching. Or painting, really. He was painting.
He was painting?
Oh, yes, with oils. He used oils. And we would supposedly, we'd have teacups, and supposedly we'd have in the tea party. You know, that was one of the poses I remember. And he was always telling us humorous things. He would visit with us while he was painting.
I was trying to think, Lorette. He was born in, what did I say? Is it 1846? I think it was 1846. How old a man do you think he was when he was painting,
Well, of course, the kids, he seemed ancient.
Yeah, I bet he did.
You know. He had white hair, abundant white hair, and white mustache. And he was a very imposing looking man. And he must have been in his 50s. He'd have to.
Well, I don't think I probably got his birthday right. Maybe he was 1864. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. You think he was in his 50s or early 60s when he was painting. Mm-hmm. And did you sit for him more than one summer?
Yes. Yes, a couple of summers.
A couple of summers.
Yeah. We took turns. There was my oldest brother, Albert. And then, of course, Ethel says she and Nellie, that would be the first one.
Yes. Now, see, Nellie is your half-sister.
Yes.
And she is some older than you are.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And she would be more like Miss Greer.
Yes. They would be of an age.
They would be of an age. Yes. And he painted your half-sister, Nellie, who became a leech. She married Homer Leach. And you remember... Do you remember them going up there and being painted?
No, I don't.
No,
because I was very small.
You've been too little.
Yes. No, I don't.
No.
See, I didn't until Ethel told me that. I didn't.
It's all news to you.
All new. But they must have been posing first, and then later on, years, we started posing.
Well, did your sister Evelyn go?
I don't recall.
Don't remember that.
I remember Albert did. He posed a lot.
Albert did. Yes. I remember Miss Greer mentioned him. Yes.
Well,
he was an imp, I think was the word
she was full of it.
Yeah. And then your brother Joe, he would go and he'd be painted, and then you would. And then Scott eventually got in there.
Oh, yeah. See, it was sort of a family tradition.
Yes. So you would walk up, and he'd paint you, and then was his wife around?
Yes, we would see her. She was a lovely looking woman too. Sometimes she would bring us, after we got through posing, she would bring us lemonade. That was a big treat.
Oh, I bet.
And sometimes we would have a game of croquet. They loved to play croquet. And so we would stay and play a game of croquet.
And that was fun.
Yes.
Yes, you liked that. Yes, great fun.
Oh, they were fun too to be with, even though they were, but we considered them older.
Well, and they were.
They were.
And they were.
But they were
But
nice.
They were still fun to be around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jessica was there.
That's their daughter.
Their daughter. Mm-hmm. She would be there. Sometimes Mrs. Carby and Jessica she had a big old car. They would go down the street in the afternoon.
Right.
While Scott Carby was painting.
I see. Yeah. Well, Lorette, do you think that the Carbys built that house?
No, I don't. I think my father has told me whose house that was there, but I don't.
Can't come up with it.
No, I don't. No, I don't remember. No, I don't think so. I think perhaps they bought it more or less for a little summer home.
Right. Mm-hmm. And came up from Boston for the summer.
Yes.
And bring Jessica.
Yes.
Well, did you tell me once, I don't think I dreamed this, that your father had a summer farm up past there?
Yes.
Up past there. Well, their house sits right at the top of the hill, and that is where Clarence and Marilyn Frizzell live now. Mm-hmm. And you go right by there and keep going, and you come to your father's summer farm where he keeps his cows.
Mm-hmm. In fact, Dobson lives there now. There wasn't a house. There was a barn there, But
Yes, I know where Mrs. Dobson, the house there on the left, and
I think the house, the cellar hole set right there.
and your father had the use of that pasture. I see. And then did you tell me that Bill McLean stayed in that house that belonged to the Cabbies one summer?
Yes, he and his mother stayed there all summer.
Do you think the Cabbies had died?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just, I don't know whether they were ill, or what. But,
Just didn't come that summer.
They just didn't come that summer. And Bill and his mother rented that. And Bill would be waiting. My father had an old truck. And Bill would be waiting at the gate in the morning to ride up to milk the cows, and with my older brother and my father. He was a lonely boy.
Bill, yeah. But he didn't really grow up here, did he?
No.
So I suppose when he came, he didn't have too many people that he knew.
No.
Well, so you would go up there. Would you go up every morning? No, not that often.
Well, yes, my father would, yes.
Yeah, but then to go be painted.
Oh, no. Usually it was in the afternoon. Yeah, in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That we would do
You'd walk up the hill.
Sometimes when we came back, we would jump into the mohawk. We would be hot. And we would jump in and paddle around.
I can just picture that. Well, did Mr. Cabby, he'd give you kids some money, a little money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it was 25 cents
Something
an hour that he paid us.
Yes.
Because that was big. We didn't have allowances most days.
No, you were glad to go.
Oh, yes. We were glad of the money.
I can picture that.
Yes.
Believe me. And then I do remember, I believe you told me when your mother died that they were very nice to you, Loretta.
They were. I remember they came to the house and Mrs. Cabby always had beautiful peonies.
Up there at the house.
And she had cut a lot of them and brought down a big bouquet. And, she was wanted to know if there was anything they could do or anything she could do.
So they really were friendly with the neighbors.
Oh, they were.
And all the neighbors knew them.
Yes.
Might not have gone back and forth to visit, but knew one another and liked one another.
No, they didn't go back and forth.
But you felt you knew them. And,
yes.
And they probably always wave at you when they go by. Yeah. Did they ever give you a ride in the big old car?
No.
No? You had to go on foot? On foot?
Never offered to take us.
Well, did you ever see any of his completed paintings?
No, I didn't.
You must have taken... Well, did Miss Greer say she thought he took them back to the city and finished them up?
I think he did. Because I do recall, I suppose he told us that my brother, he was seemed very pleased that he had sold the painting of my oldest brother.
That would be Albert.
And he had taken him like in ragged overalls and a straw hat and a fishing pole in his hand.
Is that right?
Yeah. And he evidently had sold quite quickly.
And he was very pleased.
Yeah, he seemed pleased.
He was very pleased, yeah.
And, no, I think he did. I think perhaps in later years, he built the studio.
Oh.
Remember the little
in Boston?
No, the little small...
The little house up on the hill.
House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Myrtle Shallow had that for a while, didn't she?
Yes.
And it's still there now.
Yes.
And when you drive by, you can see it has a lot of windows.
Yes.
And that was his studio.
Yes.
And he had it built.
Yes.
Well, Loretta, did you tell me that he ran a school in Boston?
Yes, he did. He had an art school. He taught. He taught.
Right there in Boston.
I think it was on Boston Street.
Well, did you ever go there?
No, never.
Never went there?
Never.
When you were...
No, and it was funny, too, because I used to go into Boston quite often with my aunt. I never gave it a thought.
No.
Never gave it a thought.
No.
But one year I came up on vacation, and...
from New Jersey?
Yes, and I went to see him.
Up on the Calton Hill?
That was when he gave me the book and signed it, and we had a good visit.
Was that the last time you ever saw him?
That was the last time I saw him.
Yes. Did he seem... I think you said he did limp.
He had a very peculiar gait, And
Right.
everybody always said that he had a wooden leg.
Yes.
He had sort of a swinging gait
Right.
when he walked.
Right. Well,
But he was, that time that when I went to see him, when I came up on vacation, he was we had a good visit.
had a good visit.
Yes.
I bet he was glad to see you.
Yes, he was.
And I bet he probably wanted to know all about your brothers and
Yes.
sisters and what you've been doing with your life. And
Yes. Yeah.
all that. Well, it's surprising to me he really painted, I'm sure, an awful lot of people in the area, but we don't even know about.
I know.
I mean, like, I didn't know about you, and your brother Scott was painted, and Teresa DeLong Hodge, she was painted, and
Lillian DeLong.
and she's the one that you painted with together.
Yeah. And, well, Nellie and Ethel Greer.
It's all the kids in the neighborhood.
Yes.
He apparently did do portraits of adults.
Yes.
He probably did them kids too, for all I know, down in Boston.
Yes, I told you about Frances Hughes.
What was that?
Well, I'm almost sure. I'd love to know whether she told me once she had a painting of her mother, and I'm almost positive she told me it was done by Scott Garvey, because she said that because her mother had died when young, you know,
When Frances was a kid.
when she was in, and they had some kind of, I don't know, a snapshot of what, and they took it down. She and her father took it to Scott Garvey and asked him if he could enlarge it and paint the picture.
I wonder.
Portrait.
And so was he able to do that one?
Yes, he did. And Frances had that picture. I'd like to know. Never thought to ask Irving.
Irving or John or, you know.
They would seem to say
Somebody must have that painting.
They must have.
Yeah. And this, the painting down the bank of the President, Miles Gray, have you seen that down
No,
there?
I haven't. I was down there one day, and I looked for it, but everybody seemed to be busy, and I didn't ask anyone, and then I did the business I came to do, and I never did see it. No, where is it?
It's where the tellers are. If you're standing in line to deposit some money or withdraw some money, you just look while you're standing. Just look down to the right, and he's right there on the wall, right there. You can't miss him. I had to say, can't miss him.
You can't miss it.
Yeah, I can't miss him. But of course, Miss Greer seemed to feel he might be related. Miles Gray might have been related to Scott Garvey.
That's what she said.
Something brought him here. I would love to know how he happened to come to Cobra.
I would too.
I bet there's some family somewhere. We'll be finding out, you know.
And I don't recall them having a lot of company.
No.
Or I don't recall ever meeting people.
Coming in. No.
That's why it seems so odd.
I would just love to see that picture that he did of you and having tea. That would be great fun to track that down, wouldn't
I
it?
suppose some of his weren't works of art. Maybe he did it just to keep in practice, don't you think?
No, I really don't know. I really never know professional artists. But well, that's very interesting. Then I was kind of thinking, I know that by the time you were old enough to pay any attention, I'm sure that the factories out at Factory Village were all done.
Oh yes.
I mean, but
yes.
But what I wondered, could you, when you were growing up, could you look down the Mohawk and see where they had been? Were there ruins?
Yes, but we were forbidden. My father would never let us.
Oh no, you've been
it's
serious
like Ethel
trouble.
Greer says we weren't allowed over there at all.
Dangerous.
Yeah, and we weren't. So it was just as you went across the bridge to go up to Cotton Hill. On the left, just under the bank, there's sort of a bank there. you could see this starch mill, the ruins of
Ruins of the old starch mill.
But we were forbidden to go there, and I never did. I must have minded real well.
Well, it seems to me you were a very good little girl, I think.
And one time when we were in school in Factory Village, they blew up the woolen mill.
That was the carding, the one that she.
Yeah. First it was a carding mill, I think.
Yes.
And then later, I believe it was a woolen.
I think I read that.
Uh-huh.
I think I did.
And we heard this big boom, and everybody kind of jumped and looked around, and they said it had become dangerous. So they had somebody, I don't know who, had blown it up.
Yes, right. Well, Lorette, was there that bridge that goes across the Mohawk to go up Carlton Hill? Was that a covered bridge?
Now, Ethel said it was.
It might have been at one time, but
I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No, it was a wooden.
It was a
wooden sides.
Wooden sides,
what I remember.
But not a cover,
no.
like a covered bridge.
Because she spoke of Scott Carvey painting that bridge.
Yeah.
And my brother saying that he had everything in it except the noise.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wasn't that cute?
Yes.
That was awful. But it could have been covered back.
It could.
Back years ago.
Yes.
Who's to know? And I would imagine that bridge probably got taken out quite a bit with ice and things through the years. So, I mean, it could have been covered once.
Seems to me it was always going out with the ice.
It was always going out with the ice.
I can remember crossing petrified, because when my father would have to go up the upper farm, he would have to have the horses, the big work horses in the wagon, and we had to ford that Mohawk, and I was petrified, just petrified.
Yeah. Because
the bridge was gone.
I bet you were scared.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. Well, when you were a little girl, did you go have horses or cars, or how did you get around?
No, when I was little, of course, we had horses.
Yes, and you get around with a horse.
Yeah, we had a driving horse, which Ethel we were talking about.
Yes.
And then we had a driving horse and wagon, and then we had the double team. And then later, my father bought a truck. I can't remember now what kind of truck it was, and hauled milk around from the farmers.
He would go to the farm and pick it up, and then would he take
it to the creamery?
Take it right downtown to Colbert to the creamery, but he would pick it up at the different farms.
Yes.
Well, that was really quite a farming area, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I can't understand that, because it's rocky, it's hilly. Why did people?
They were awful workers, those people. They were.
You survived on what you raised.
Yes. Yeah. But like you said, nobody ever went hungry.
No.
And they didn't. No. But he would do that, pick up the milk.
He would have a regular route, and every morning he would go out and pick up all the milk. Different farmers take it down to the creamery.
Right, right. Of course, I imagine back then they didn't have the restrictions that they have today. I mean, every year they're constantly putting new restrictions on the farmers.
Oh, yeah. No. They had watering troughs. They kept the milk cooling, with the running water and the watering troughs. And I think some of them, I guess, had milk houses. I don't recall that.
Yeah.
I remember going with my father along the routes.
Yeah. When you were a little kid, did you come in town quite often?
No.
Not very often. Wouldn't come in.
No. I often said to Leo, "You were a town boy. I was a country girl." I said,
He would get in.
Well, yes, because he went to school, you see.
So he knew.
It's too bad you didn't talk with him, because, he remembered the Rose Eyes, all of the old families, when they ran the stores and everything. And, I didn't know.
You wouldn't get in town.
No.
But you said there was a little store out there.
At the Factory Village.
At Factory Village.
Yes.
And that's where if you needed something quick, you'd go there?
Yeah, well, yes. Yes. There's been several stores, I guess, out there. That was quite a thriving little place, when the mills were going.
Well, it's kind of hard to picture that, isn't it, today?
Yes, it is. And it was even then because the mills were gone. But
back when they were going, it must have been something.
That's what I mean. And, well, I can remember, yes, I remember the little store that this Mrs. Pollard ran. And she had kerosene. At that time, always had stoves, kerosene. And I don't know, did they have bread then or anything? I remember, one thing I do remember was the candy. We never had much candy.
Store candy.
Yeah,
no,
the little penny candy.
Yeah, and you loved that.
Oh, Lord. From school, if anyone had a penny, they went up there and they'd get maybe 2 pieces of licorice or something, you see. Yeah.
And that's where you'd go to get your penny candy, was that? Yeah. But you wouldn't get in town. No.
Oh, no.
No.
If we came with my father, we weren't allowed to go on the streets or anything,
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that you probably didn't buy bread. I bet you made it.
Oh, yes, my grandmother. Yes.
Made the bread.
Yes, yeah.
Do you make bread now?
Not now.
But
no.
you did when the family was growing up.
Oh, yes.
You had...
Yeah, I love to make bread.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's changing times, wouldn't you say, Loretta?
Oh,
These are very changing times. And I'm not convinced for the good.
No.
There are good things about it.
Yes.
But
we have a lot of advantages, and the children today have a lot of advantages that we didn't have.
That's right. You're right.
There I lived right in a town with 2 colleges.
When you were living in New Jersey.
And now, I didn't have the money to go, but if it was today, I wouldn't have needed the money to go.
You said it.
There would be grants.
No, you would have gone.
I would have gone.
You would have gone.
But then, my folks didn't have the money.
No.
There was the New Jersey College for Women. There was the Rutgers University right there.
Yes.
And there was, where my father worked, was the Agricultural College, which I presume was connected to one of the 2 colleges. Yeah. But I just never, I didn't have the money to go.
No. And the scholarships weren't available.
No.
No, it was a rarity. I would almost say for a girl, too.
Yes.
Girls didn't go.
No.
If you had some money, the boy would go.
Yeah, right, always.
If you didn't have any money, nobody would go.
Nobody went.
It's just that was the way it was.
But I think that is an advantage of living now because young people, everything is so much more available to them than it was then.
Yeah. But they'll never, I don't think perhaps kids today appreciate the simple things in life as much.
No.
I mean, that's the only way I can describe it.
No.
I remember, it didn't take a great deal to amuse me.
No.
Kick the can, sit down and copy off license plate numbers, No, it was just simple. And
we didn't expect that much.
No.
We didn't expect. No. Now they want the towns to put them in swimming pools.
Yeah.
They want tennis courts.
Yeah. Did you used to go swimming out there in the Mohawk?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Did you?
Yes.
Because I didn't grow up right here in Colebrook, and everybody always says that was the most fun.
It was. We'd always congregate in the afternoon, especially hot,
Well, no, I'm trying to get that in my mind's eye. That would be kind of a walk for you.
Not very far.
Not too. You would walk.
In fact, the Mohawk ran right through my father's property.
Yes, it would have, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to get that in my mind.
Where we congregated was under the bridge.
Is that Battle Creek?
No, we never went to Battle Creek because you see that was too far.
That you couldn't have walked that.
It was the village bridge.
And you'd go and
we would all congregate down there.
And all the kids would go there.
I don't know. I didn't know how to swim.
But you'd get in the water and splash around. Would the kids from town come out?
No.
No, this is pretty much Factory Village.
Factory Village children.
And all of you knew each other.
Yes.
And you pal around that way. Yeah. When you're a kid, did you have a radio and things out?
No. The only thing I've often thought, we had one of those old graphophones. They called them graphophones. They had the round brackets, and the
Yes.
horn like this, and it would say on the end of it.
When you moved into town and you were used to living out at the fish hatchery, which I call the country, it is
Right.
country.
Yeah.
To move downtown Colebrook, was that hard for you to get
Yes.
used to?
Yes, very hard.
I'll
For
bet.
both Leo and I.
Leo, too.
But it was a sensible thing to do
Yes.
because Leo wasn't well.
No, he had arthritis.
Yes. And, you didn't know what turn he would take, whether he would be confined to a wheelchair. And so we figured that, I could walk to stores. He could
Yes.
walk down the street and visit.
Yes.
It would be much better, a
Right.
much better situation than if we lived out in the country.
Right, and I think that was good thinking.
Yes.
And especially, his health, he had a
Yes.
hard time.
Yes.
You missed living in the
Oh,
country.
yes.
What did you miss? The birds and because
I miss the freedom, the openness,
Yes.
Like, of course, Leo's uncle Everett owned the big farm next to the hatchery, and we were free to roam, and walk in the woods. I missed all that.
I would think you would, and of course, where you live and where I live right across the street. We have a tremendous amount of noise and traffic.
Yeah, that.
Which particularly noticeable in the summer when you have the windows up. And I'm sure that was an adjustment for you.
Very much so. I thought I would never get used to it. In fact, when we bought this place, we had both agreed Leo wasn't as agreeable to it as I was. And we had said, well, we will live there. And maybe in 3-4 years, if we don't like it, we will sell it and move somewhere else.
Right.
That was the agreement
Yes.
between he and I. But then one time I said to him, well, look, Leo, I'm not used to the noise. Are you? He said, well, what he couldn't hear is good either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't bother me as much. I said, what do you say that we move? I'm never moving again, he said.
Yeah,
Never.
no. Well, see, he wasn't feeling well.
No.
And it seemed like a tremendous effort.
Oh, it was.
And of course, it was an effort.
Yes.
It's an effort to move, for heaven's
Yes.
sakes.
And he hated to leave the hatchery.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah. See, that was his old stamping ground, really, because his home was next door.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what did you tell me? He said something about he hadn't gone for. What did he say?
Oh,
that was cute.
I used to kid him. I would say to him, you never got very far in life, did you? I said, just down the road.
Just down the road, just a little piece.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Did that Mr. Williams, I think was his name, did he own the Wiswell place before the Wiswells? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
I was noticing on a map it had him placed there, and I wondered about that because he used to own a store right down here at the corner of Spring and Main Street, way back. Oh, this I'm talking about in the.
Way back.
Oh, yes, way back. 1870, 1860 or 70. There was a store there, E.H. Williams. And then I noticed on this map the map was dated 1892, I think, and it showed what I thought was the old Wiswell place, and that maybe the Williamses had it.
Could be.
There.
It could be. I know the buildings were there when they bought. They moved from Clarksville.
The Wiswells?
Charles Wiswell, yes.
They came down from Clarksville?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In farm.
Mm-hmm. And they bought that place there.
They bought it. It was there.
It was there.
So,
but I don't know.
Yeah. Or they could have bought it from the Williamses, I suppose.
Yes,
they could have, very likely.
They could have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've read Mr. Wiswell's book, and he's got a lot of interesting things
Oh, yes.
in there.
He was an interesting man.
Yes. Oh. Did Leo get quite a kick out of that book?
For the book?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Not particularly.
Not particularly.
No. Well, he covers things way back in different fashion than Dr. Gifford's books. So if you read them both, you kind of get kind of a smattering of both, I guess. I would say that. Well,
I used to go down to Everett's and Elva's a lot.
You did?
Yes, and I loved to listen to them tell about things.
He must have had a good memory.
He did. Yeah, very. Yeah.
And she probably did too.
Well, yes, because a lot of years she didn't.
Oh, no, she wasn't. Well, no, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
I think perhaps you call it Alzheimer's disease.
Today. Yeah. And she had that for quite a few years. Quite a few years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but I used to love to listen. I used to love to listen to him and ask him things about, the old look. But one of the things he told was when they lived in Clarksville, he said that there was no deer here. It was, I believe, caribou.
Is that right?
Mm. And
as a kid, when he was living up there in Clarksville, not deer, but caribou.
And every year, they would go into the woods and shoot caribou. And they had these big moose sleds. And, I suppose they packed the meat back home and they would have that.
I've never heard that before. Yes. Have you ever heard that elsewhere?
No, I hadn't.
We'll have to keep our ears open.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask. Yeah. I guess. No, I've never. But hey, if he said it, he shot him. I mean, who am I going to be? I don't know.
They would have, like, as he said, parties of men would go into the woods.
Yeah.
And they'd bring the caribou that they shot out on these sleds.
Yeah. Okay.
I suppose that's, they used it for meat.
Sure. And I suppose that maybe, I don't know whether caribou and deer lived together peacefully or whether the caribou died out and the deer came.
I think that was it. Yes, I think that was
They died out and then the deer came.
Yeah, because he said when he was a boy, deers were very scarce.
Yeah, right. Well, certainly, I remember reading in the News and Sentinel. In fact, I have the paper, I think it was 1969, and they were just so excited in that issue because a moose had been spotted out in Arrow, New Hampshire, and it was it was amazing.
Yes.
And look at us now.
Yeah, I know. You see, it's like they seem to have what would you call it? Evolution.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, here they're practically out of business on moose, and now you can hardly drive anywhere without seeing one.
And I remember when I was a child, it was rare to ever see a moose. And if it was an event, if they saw one, I never saw one.
No, you never saw one.
No.
You didn't see one till probably late. Till they've come up so
quick. So isn't it strange? And yet we have the deer here too.
Yes, we have the deer. Yeah, we have the deer. We have, because I don't know if they've always had coy dogs or not, but we certainly have those coy dogs, and
they've multiplied in the last few years, certainly.
Yeah. And of course we still have our bear.
Yeah.
And I think the Mohawk River itself has changed a lot for me.
Oh, yes.
I remember, and it wasn't that far back, you used to be able to go out there and go fishing. And it was good fishing. And there's something about, they did something, they dredged it, I guess, out there, something, it wrecked it for me, all the pools.
I wonder if they stocked it. I wonder if they stock that now.
I haven't an idea, but I would think with the campgrounds
they would.
In fact, I think somebody told me about someone that caught quite a few hatchery fish out there, so I have a feeling they probably do still.
I know Leo used to, yes.
He used to stock that.
And York Pond used to stock it.
And they stocked it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Annie, it sounds to me like you've had a good life.
Certainly have.
Things, I'm sure, Leo was busy with his job, and I know that I've always heard a wonderful cook Loretta MacKinnon is. And you said that you used to have a lot of people stop by the hatchery to see the fish.
Oh, yes.
The operation, how you did it. I mean, there was almost like a little tour.
Yes.
That you could do. Mm-hmm. And so you must have met a lot of people from away.
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
I didn't. I very seldom was at the hatchery.
Uh-huh.
If I did, it was usually in the evening. Leo and I would walk around, and sometimes, in the evening, and he would tell me, or he would be looking to see everything was all right.
Closed up for the night.
Yeah. But no, I wasn't there much. But the hatchery people, the superintendents and their wives, and the secretaries from the office and everything, they used to come a lot. Leo would always say, well, you think you could make another batch of muffins?
See, there you are. He knew you were a good cook. Yeah. So you'd whip up a batch of muffins.
Yeah. And put on a couple pots of coffee. And then they'd come to the house and visit maybe a couple hours,
Yeah, just sit around, talk about things. Yeah. That's, those were good days, and I'm sure, I've enjoyed hearing about it a lot, Loretta. I really have enjoyed it.
That's good.
Been an interesting conversation here. I didn't realize you'd been my neighbor quite so many years. That surprised me.
I know.
Time flies.
Oh, it does.
It
does.
Yeah.
Gone before you know it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome. I don't think that I said anything very extraordinary.
I thought you were very interesting. You want to know what I think?
Well,
there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
That's great.